Welcome to Mining Now, everyone. I'm your host, Jared Downey, and today we are continuing our third annual Australian tour. We're featuring companies all over Australia. We've done it before, and it just gets a little bit bigger every year, and we've just a fantastic lineup of shows for this year. So make sure to subscribe so you get to follow as these episodes get released. Today, we're featuring maxgeo, and we've got their founder, I believe, I'll confirm that with him, and director Viv Preston on the show. Viv, welcome to the show. Great to be on.
How are you going?
I'm good. You did found the company, didn't you?
Yep. About 24 years ago, we founded the company mainly based on the frustration of getting data to geologists, and more importantly, integrated data to geologists.
So what were you doing at the time when that happened? What was your job?
Exploration geology. So I kind of went through the big companies, the small companies, and then we're providing sort of field services to various people, collecting big data sets. In those days, in an Excel spreadsheet, and then slowly evolved from an Excel spreadsheet into Access databases, into SQL databases, and I suppose nowadays we look at structured data or relational databases and non-relational databases. So it's been quite an evolution over the last 20 years.
I'm sure there's a whole bunch of reasons, but why at that time was the technology not there?
I think it's evolved quickly. I think the technology has been a sort of around. Everybody was using spreadsheets, and then if you look at Excel spreadsheets, I mean, there's massive issues that come with Excel spreadsheets. I mean, we still use them today, unfortunately. And I was talking to a mate of mine in Toronto the other day, trying to make a stab at how many people still use Excel spreadsheets in the mining industry. We came up with a number of around about 40 or 50% of mining companies,
wow,
mining exploration still use spreadsheets. And it doesn't take much to go and do some research in something like Google to find out the issues that commonly occur with spreadsheets. And then one of the fundamental. Sorry.
Oh, no. Sorry, go. You're saying one of the fundamental?
No, just, if you're looking at data governance, spreadsheets don't support data governance. It's always issues with data sitting in spreadsheets. It's like going to the accountants and say, listen, we're going to do an end of the year accounts through spreadsheets rather than sort of some commercial package that's off the shelf. Right. So that's the business I'm in, is trying to get people out of those spreadsheets into, commercial data management systems that sort of embrace digital disruption, digital transformation. But I think we still got a long way to go with that story.
So when you started, what was your background? What was your capability? Did you partner up with someone that knew how to do the design and the coding and all that sort of thing? Or how did it all come together in that first year or so?
I think what's important is that I'm a geologist, and the people that I started the business with were geologists, and I think that's an important thing. We brought the geological aspect of it rather than an RT aspect to it. So it was designed for geologists, for mining engineers, rather than an RT solution. And
right,
and then there's some sort of structure around the back end of the database, whether it's over normalized databases or under normalized databases. And I think that's important in the data management space, that you want the people ultimately going to be using the database to be part of the development of the database or the data management systems.
Right. How did you just partner up with people? You found people that could design, and you just sort of said, this is how I want it to work, make it work this way. Is that ultimately what ended up happening?
Yeah, but a little bit like that. I mean, it's not that we haven't made mistakes. My book of mistakes is going to be quite a large book. It's not going to be only 2 or 3 pages.
We got time on this interview.
Yeah. So you're going to try and make as many mistakes as quickly as possible so you can move on and find the right path. And we've made heaps of mistakes along the way. But I think we ultimately have a data management system that embraces a digital transformation, and I'd like to think we're kind of a little bit ahead of the curve.
Was there a point you've been at it for 20 years now. Was there a point where something got developed? I've been in business quite a few years now. It's actually crazy when I look back. But there's these thresholds where you hit, where you went, we got that right. You can look at all your mistakes and you learn from your mistakes in a way, but there's also these wins where you go, we nailed something. Where's a couple thresholds that your company got to where you either rolled something out to clients or you got users on board or just, reached in a new target market or whatever it was? What are a couple thresholds over those last 20 years you went that we nailed this one?
Yeah, I'll just go back a little bit. So we were doing that field data capture collection and using various applications that were out there. And eventually in 2006, we actually bought datashed. And I always had this vision that datashed would integrate the data sets from all over the place. And it's interesting, and I was talking to the guys the other day that there was a Business Harvard review that I looked at in 2014, and they were talking about the integration of data, real-time data management in the farming industry. Mm-hmm. And I took that as a blueprint of taking datashed somewhere. And interestingly enough, 10 years later, I think we now have got to the threshold. I think we're now in a space where we can easily connect data, and I think it's a linear process. And sometimes we kind of make it a sort of a convoluted process by putting all dog's legs inside of it. It's a linear process. You've got a source that you want to get your data from, goes into a database, and it goes out to various applications. And I think in maxgeo, we're kind of in that space at the moment. We do a lot of integration with various sources, whether they be geology, downhole surveys, PXRF, hyperspectral, laboratories, and then we sort of get that into the database. We do data governance around that data, quality control, and then we can move good, clean data out into the various applications that the resource people are using or engineers are using.
Okay. I've got a question. I've asked this to different companies that provide different services around management or software or data sets or whatever, what have you. And I'm going to talk about my own experience. We've looked at before like a Salesforce type thing in that, and it's if you look at it, there's obviously a lot of tools. It's an incredible platform. But then when you start to dig into it, you learn pretty quick. You need someone who knows it, who can support you, because it gets your data by the very nature of using an Excel spreadsheet, by all the different places where people save stuff, the different departments, just naturally it ends up being not the way that it should be to go into these softwares. Can you walk us through how you deliver the onboarding? Because there is going to be someone for sure that's going to watch this, that's going to go, I know it's good, but I just don't want to open up. I don't want to even open up the box to see how we're going to migrate everything over. How do you, and I'm sure you probably got that question in this today. How do you deal with that?
So we simplified that onboarding process. So over the last couple of years, we've moving people from on-prem environments into cloud. There's still some resistance in the mining space to moving to the cloud. So, but I think everybody's in that space. If they're either in the cloud or they're thinking about in the cloud. If they're not thinking about in the cloud, they're going to get left behind. And so we've spent 4 or 5 years getting that tech stack together. So we've got we work off the AWS environment. AWS environment. You've got your data governance. You've got the data lakes that we're looking at. We've got ETLs, APIs, and then kind of datashed sits on top of that. So that stack that we've been working on for the last 3 or 4 years, we can deploy it in a day. So we can go to a client and say, within a day, we'll give you a data management system, which is, top shelf. And then we can talk to the guys about how they want to connect to their different sources. And we've got templates that we can connect to laboratories or downhole surveys or PXRF and so on and so forth. The big elephant in the room is always with historic data. Commonly, historic data is going to have a lot of issues with it, and so you've got to sit down with that historic data and work your way through it into the database. So generally, in our space, we can have somebody up and running in a week with a data management system to collect data going forward. The conversation that runs parallel to that is actually looking at the historic data and moving that historic data into the database.
Okay, so this is actually an important thing then. So you can, if let's say it's a week.
Yep.
Their operation, they're getting value out of it.
Yep.
Already. Then they're now we're not dealing with the historic data, but from that week on, they can. What do you think is the big value they're going to see? What is the difference? Again, someone watching this going, do I want to do this? What is the difference they're going to see in that second week when they've onboarded your platform?
They're going to see integrated data in Power BI reports or Tableau reports or just various. They can quickly integrate that data into the resource software that they're using. So I think that the value add is very short. That within 2 weeks they've got good quality data going into their database, and by automating, you're actually removing the manual processes which often come with issues, finger problems, people introducing issues into the data. So by going from the source, you go straight into the database.
Right.
And
does it sort of eliminate these silos that end up in data as well?
Yep. To a degree. I think what happens in the mining industry at the moment is that everybody's got their little cloud environments. So we kind of move away from those manual siloed environments to sort of enterprise-wide integrated data management systems. But our next challenge is actually to integrate with the various people who've got their own little cloud environments that people have to hook into. So if you're looking at downhole surveys, you've got to hook into these guys and pull it down. If you're looking at PXRF, hook into these guys and pull it down. And the challenge at the moment is to get the APIs that we use to connect to these platforms working efficiently.
Is that a challenge then with
Absolutely.
so people sort of have their own little software systems and
Yep.
you're having to try to sort of navigate that as well?
Yep. So, it's collecting the data and the metadata, how you're mapping that into your database, how quickly can you map it into the database, and how do you get your API to read that data into the database? We're getting there. I mean, in our situation, we were a fair way down the track with that API and being able to connect into various sources and outputs.
I was on your website and I didn't get a chance to go through, but I saw this. So I see datashed, and then you got log chief light, lease control. Could you just briefly, for anybody watching, we're going to put a link to your website and everything, but could you just sort of run through, there's administration, there's releases, licensing, just to sort of what you're actually offering in these different softwares?
So datashed is our enterprise-wide data management system. As I say, it's been around for 20 odd years. And then we've got LogChief and LogChief Lite are the geological data capture tools that talk to datashed. So LogChief is getting replaced by LogChief Lite. So LogChief Lite is a platform agnostic tool. We've taken away a lot of the administration that's associated with LogChief, and so kind of LogChief Lite is a forward-facing data capture tool for the guys in the field, working online, offline. If you're working offline, once you come back and you can get a connection, you can move the data into the database. And then lease control is our land management package. So it's kind of separate from datashed. But I think at the moment we start to connect all these things together through data lakes, so we can. At the moment, we connected to all the mines departments in Australia and Canada, and so we can give live feeds around land monitoring on a daily basis, or however often the department send the database to us, or the data to us.
When you said it takes out some of that administrative, what would be a couple of examples of that?
Oh, just setting it up, the permissions. How do you manage permissions? Software permissions. Sometimes if you're adding data to the libraries, how do you manage those? Often when you build software, we're looking at the end product, but the stuff that takes the most time is actually the administration. That back end stuff, the administration around the back end. How are you going to do version control? How are you going to manage the permissions? How are you going to manage the libraries? How are you going to, those are things that often get left behind until the end, and then you got this crisis on your hands to fix it.
Right. And is that, how much of an improvement is that? Like when you look at the Logchief Lite, how much of an improvement is it from Logchief?
For us, it's a massive improvement, in terms of, updating it, version controls, permissions. You just got one area in datashed 5 that you can manage everything. Everybody's connected to the same libraries. It's a huge. If you look at if you look at the last 20 years, a lot of that data management in the mining space has been manual, and we see a lot of manual data management. We've got examples where people are loading, over 10,000 files every year manually into the database. And you can eliminate that by setting up automated systems. So we move from a very manual process over the last 15, 20 years to automating. Not everybody's bought into that, but over time they will. We've got 350 odd clients around the world, and we still have a lot of those clients still dealing with Excel spreadsheets where they can actually make some investment and improve that whole process. So when we look at somebody that buys into our story, you can have up to 60% time and money saving using cloud-based automated digital transformation systems.
I'm gonna ask a question that everybody's asking, but it is worth asking: is AI? How does that integrate? You talk about automation. How is AI going to sort of help get these systems? Like, could AI solve some of that that legacy data issue?
I think eventually, yes. I've watched the AI space. There's some fantastic stuff happening on the edges, but I think sometimes we don't worry about the basics. There's, as I say, we've got a number of clients, or we've got quite a few clients in our base, and a lot of those people are still doing data management manually, and just try and get some of the basics sorted. Get some of your files. As I say, it's a genuine thing that you can up to 60% saving in time and money to get that integrated enterprise data. The data's there 24/7. You've got various permissions. From the CEO right down to the bottle washer can get access to the data if they want. They can download it. They can see it. And that's the space that we're working at the moment. We've moved across into that space.
Is it just the integration that is the biggest? What are some of the things that people say, like, I'm just not ready? Is it just that onboarding thing? Or, it's hard to imagine anybody would look at your software and say, well, we don't need it.
Change management. Guys get comfortable just manually loading things. They feel that sometimes it's too complicated when it's not. But people are scared of change management. So and maybe the younger people buy into, why the hell am I doing this? Why am I loading this manually when I can automate it?
Right.
And maybe that's the more senior people in the industry are kind of, well, I've been doing this for the last 40 years. Why do I need to change now? I don't see the benefits of it. And so that's a day-to-day conversation that we have with clients and potential clients, is getting them to see the value add of something that we provide to the industry.
And what do you see as the most effective way so far over the years to get that change management to be adopted? I know it's not an easy question.
No, we deal with it every day.
Right. Yes. I imagine.
I think once again, it's people. Trying to get people to understand the benefits, the value add that digital transformation can have on an industry. You look at, as I say, in 2010. This article on farming, they were integrating these harvesters into, markets around the world, taking soil samples as the harvesters walking around the place, etc. And the mining industry is still not there. 10 years later, we're still running around the edges of it. And certainly we've got clients that have bought into it and have embraced our story, but there's still a lot of people who need to make that change.
Does anybody stand out to you that you've partnered up with or you delivered where you went, this is how it's supposed to go?
Listen, we've got a wide spread of clients, from the big end of town through to the small end of town. So we deal with people like Barrick in Africa. Do a lot of work with them, and the Endeavour guys, AngloGold, through right down to the smaller guys, you know. So we do have often we're kind of the middleman in this process. They want to integrate services into the database, and so we sort of coordinate that and run that and do the development. Some of the bigger companies have got disparate databases around the globe, and they want to bring it all up into a corporate level database. So we do a fair bit of that, just bringing different data sets into datashed, which becomes their sort of their cleansed corporate reporting data management system. So we'll deal with people like Accenture to get that reporting at that corporate level, that higher corporate level.
Right. So are you sometimes partnering then with other companies that are trying to, like, they're bringing you in? It's not the operator you're necessarily dealing with directly. They're actually bringing you in to help support.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I say to guys, if we've been doing it for 20 years, if you're looking at getting into a data management, sit down and talk to us, ask us what the problems are, ask us how we can be successful in putting a data management system in place that is forward facing or future facing, should I say, and that's what you've got to be doing. You need to be implementing data management systems for 5-10 years time, not for today. So what does that landscape look like in 5-10 years time? And are we developing today for 10 years time?
You built up quite a good company. Before I let you go, I was just curious, is that what you pictured when you started the company? Were you picturing, you said you had how many, did you say 300 clients?
Yeah, about 350 or something.
350. Is that what you had in mind when you started? When did you start to see this could be something bigger than, obviously something you could use yourself? What was the plan right from the beginning?
No plan. I just study geologist sitting on the back of a rig, logging it. Just
really
by just default. There was never even a big game plan to become a company with doing digital disruption. And at the end of the day, it'd be nice to make a little dent in the data management space for the resource industry.
Right.
So
when did you start to think, this is something like you've had a lot of success in the industry. So I would love to understand. I think anybody watching, they'll understand, they'll know what you're doing. They'll have gone to your website by now. So it's always nice to spend a couple of minutes at the end of these interviews to sort of understand what kind of these stages people go through. Was it 5 years in? Was it 10? When did you start to think, this is?
Yeah, probably 10 years. We were mainly in Western Australia. So we're very strong in Western Australia, Western Africa, and the western part of Northern America. And then we've got scatterings. I don't know how many it is. There's probably 80 or 90 companies countries around the world that we work in.
Right.
So, but I think we've always focused or tried to focus on the technical side of things. We haven't been IT driven or bottom line driven. Yes, you want to make a profit. Yes, you want to be able to put money into R&D and so on and so forth. But I think we've tried to stay technical as much as possible with this whole, and the drive is technical. Is trying to, how can we provide integrated data to the end user quickly and efficiently, which is got some governance around it as well.
And did that approach, did clients sort of automatically, like you said West Africa, 80, 90 countries around the world. Did you get pulled into that? Did you make a concerted effort? Did you say, with West Africa is a spot to be, or was it a mining operator that you were working with in Western Australia said, hey, can you look at this for us as well?
Probably a combination of both. We were working with, as you say, people in Western Australia that operations elsewhere, and so we sort of organically grew into those areas and then sort of established ourselves and grew from there.
Yeah, I know I'm peppering you a little. I'll just add a couple more. I know you got an event to get back to. In your career, what changes did you have to make? Because you go from being a geologist sitting on the back of a truck putting in data, now you're serving 80, 90 countries, 350 clients, AI is coming in, automation's coming in. You've got all this stuff happening, buying datashed, so as you grow this company, what adaptation did you have to make? Where sort of did that growth, either in leadership or communication, where did you have to improve yourself to be able to manage this type of growth?
I think, where did I change? Communication is, if anybody asks me what are the biggest issues or challenges in running a business, is communication. Over communicating, under communicating. How do you communicate? Is it an email? Is it letter? Is it verbal? How do you communicate your software? How do you communicate your marketing? All that kind of stuff. So the one thing that comes up in my head is, how do you communicate and get that message through for whatever end goal that you want?
Yeah.
My role probably is to be the dumb end user. So I'm interested in what happens in the back end. But I say to the guys, I'm not interested in all the acronyms that you come up. I just want to know that if I push a button, I'm going to get the answer. I don't want to push 20 buttons to get the answer. I want to be able to push one button, maybe two buttons, and I got an answer. So my role, I think, is just that dumb end user. How can we simplify it? How can we get the answers quickly?
Right. Well, you said something, and I have to jump on this one, because people talk about all types of communication. They don't often bring up over communication. And I think that is a real thing. I do think you can over communicate and bog stuff down. What's an example of over communication to you?
Oh, sales guys, they don't listen to that rule, buddy, listen for a third, listen for 2/3 and talk for a third. Sometimes the sales guys just go on and on and on, telling people how fantastic they are, how fantastic the software. And if you haven't got the attention of somebody within say 5-7 minutes, then the conversation's gone.
Right.
So for me, you got to be upfront of what you want to say to the guys, and then maybe. So my guys will, they got to sell within 15 minutes. Right. And when I say sell, it's a technical conversation. It's not selling widgets. You got to have a high end. Pull out the 3 or 4 points that are pertinent for the conversation, and get those points out there within 50 minutes, and then see where the conversation goes. The clients or the potential clients can come back with other questions, and we certainly see more technical conversations happening in the industry at the moment. If you went back 20 years, it was kind of to sell the software, it's Access or SQL, and they were happy.
Yeah.
Now there's a higher technical conversation. I've got this certificate or this batch from this laboratory, and these are the standards, and how am I going to manage it, and how can I see it, and how can I QC it, things like that. So it is a higher technical conversation that we're having with various people.
It's interesting you say that, because I have noticed, even on our own show, there used to be, even a couple of years ago, there was a sort of like, do people really want to hear technical information? Do they really want to hear the software listed out? Do they really want screenshots of the software operating? But over time, more and more people are realizing people are not interested in hearing about how great your service is. They're interested in hearing how this matches up with their need. And that takes a discussion. There's you can't have a corporate 30-second video that nails that. You have to have an actual discussion. And you're right. If you're discussing, if you're trying to sell something to them, and you're the one talking 66% of the time, there's no way you can line up all your offerings with their needs. It's impossible.
No, you've got to listen to the guys. You've got to listen to what their pain points are. What do they want at the end of the day? What's going to make their life easier? It's a cultural thing, isn't it? I'm not quite sure. How can we make it easier for the guys to get there? You're going to take a person who's doing manual data management every day, every week, every month, and you've got to try and move that person, automate it, and get them into the space where they're looking at the data. They went to university or college or whatever it is to look at the data, integrate the data, investigate, exploration geologists, you're looking for those anomalies. Mining, looking at processes and things. But so often people are sitting in offices around the world out in the bush, and all they're doing is manually loading data. It's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. Right. And you got to sort of get them into that conversation where they're trying to focus on what they want to do, not what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I'm applying for a job is what I'm trying to do. I promise to listen. I say no.
But I mean, you talk about applying for a job. What's your resume going to look like if in your resume you got 5 years of manually loading Excel spreadsheets?
Right.
I'm not going to.
Good point.
It's not a bloody good career, buddy.
Yeah. Viv, it's great to talk to you. Great to meet you. I'm hoping next year, the following year, I don't know if you ever get out to Vancouver, but hopefully we get to do this in person. But I do appreciate you. I know it's a busy show. You've got lots of people to talk to. I appreciate you taking the time here to chat with us.
No, good catching up with you. Yeah, I'm in Vancouver a lot, so yeah, we can catch up.
Let me know. Our studio's here. Stop by. We have some great. Actually, no, I've learned to Australians not to say we have great coffee here.
No,
because there's a high standard. Yeah.
The beer in Vancouver is not too bad. The coffee's terrible.
Yeah, no. Well, we'll try. We got a couple shots. I'll get your opinion on it if you come here.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I hope we do this again.
Yeah, good chat with you.
And thank you everybody for watching. Please go connect. You can connect directly with Viv on LinkedIn. We'll have a link to the maxgeo website. They've laid it out really nice. You can sort of go through all the services, go through the software, and sort of line it up with them. And then, of course, reach out to them to chat. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, suggest guests. We thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next episode of Mining Now.